to another episode of the Bottom of the Stream Movie Show. My name is Adam.
My name is Nick. We are bringing the energy to this one,
Let
me tell you.
We're fully on board with it. This is Apostle version 2. Apostle harder.
A mortar and apostle.
Wow. For those of you that didn't listen to The Wave or didn't realise what's happened, we recorded this episode last week. The file got somehow corrupted and we're now having to record it again. We didn't release the movie episode last week. We are going to push everything back a week and now we are releasing it this week.
Because we really did want to talk about this movie.
Yeah, we did. It's a memorable movie, this one.
It sure is memorable.
Yeah. And it was Sam Mulholland's wildcard pick.
Yeah.
Who was one of our Patreons. He gets a wild card. He picked this film. So we couldn't not do it.
And I will say off the top of the show that Sam Mulholland, he loves a theme.
He does.
Because 2 seasons ago, we were in an isolated village community.
We were.
When he picked Calabar.
Scotland?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with Apostle, we're in an isolated village community. I think we're off the coast of Wales.
I was going to say, it doesn't say where, does it?
No, I'm just going with Wales because there's a Welsh guy in it. So let's say that.
Okay.
We're going to the community, the island, in fact, of Erisden.
Erisden.
Yeah, that's where we're going.
That's where we're going because we're going to talk about a film called Apostle. Apostle was released in 2018. It is an 18. It runs for 2 hours and 10 minutes. It's currently rated at 6.3 out of 10 on IMDb.
Okay.
And is a Netflix original. 6.3 out of 10. What do you reckon to that?
Not great.
It's not. It's low, isn't it?
Yeah.
As a rating.
But
it's not low as a rating.
We'll get to it at the end
Yeah.
or as we go through. I can see that people who like this film will really fucking like this film.
Yeah.
And if it's not your cup of tea, you are not liking
I
this
guess
film.
it can be quite polarising, I imagine.
Yeah.
There's a lot of blood and guts and gore in it.
And I think it does play with your expectations because that is the last hour of this film is something completely different to the first
it really is.
First hour.
You could say it takes a little while to get going, but when it goes, it really fucking goes.
Sure.
I've done 14 pages of notes on this film.
Okay.
And I think 11 of them are on the last hour.
Yeah, that would seem like a fair balance. Yeah.
This film stars a guy called Dan Stevens. Dan Stevens plays Thomas Richardson. He's most famous. He was in Downton Abbey. He was also the Beast in the live-action Beauty and the Beast remake. And he was also in Colossal, which is a film I watched a while ago about giant monster thingies. Yeah. So he's in all of them. This film also stars Michael Sheen.
Sure.
Michael Sheen plays a character called the Prophet.
Otherwise
known as Malcolm. Yeah. I didn't know Michael Sheen was in this.
No, I didn't until he walked on the screen.
Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? Because he is the second lead character in it, I would say. But he's on IMDb. He's listing his miles down the page.
Yeah.
Yeah, very bizarre. And also stars a guy called Mark Lewis Jones, who plays a character called Quinn.
Okay.
You'd know him. He's one of these guys who's just got a face. He's been in everything.
Yeah, he's
in Game of Thrones. He's just been in absolutely everything, and he's absolutely wonderful in this.
He's great.
He is. He's absolutely great in this. So, shall we get into it?
Well, just before we do, I'm surprised you've not mentioned someone else.
Oh, for the second time. That's genuinely happened as well. I apologise.
In this movie.
Yes, I missed somebody who's in the cast of this film.
Yeah. Bill Milner, who plays Jeremy.
Yes.
One of the star-crossed lovers in this movie.
Yeah. Also really good.
I'm surprised you missed him because he was the lead in another movie that we've done on the show.
Yes, he was.
He was the eye boy in Eye Boy.
And I did completely miss it. I didn't recognise him. It didn't even look familiar to me.
But Eye
Boy was a long time ago.
He doesn't look any different, really.
Does he not?
Slightly longer hair, I would say, in this. But
Eye Boy was a long time ago. Eye Boy also had somebody from Game of Thrones in it. And so is this.
Yeah.
How weird. Coincidence.
Well, if you're a British actor and you've worked in the last 10 to 15 years, you've probably been in Game of Thrones at some point.
Where does this film start, Nick?
We're in a loch or a lake. A lake.
What's the difference between a loch and a lake?
Yes.
I don't know. Is it just Scottish for loch?
Yes,
Scottish for lake?
I'm not sure. I could not tell you. I thought I've been here before.
Okay.
As in, I've seen this. We follow a train coming over a bridge.
Yeah, it's quite a striking image, isn't it?
Picturesque. I'm like, this location's been used in movies.
It's very.
That was my instant thought.
This has been used in movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like that sort of environment.
Oh, that's pretty. I've seen it before. Yeah. Sure I have. And then we cut to a voiceover of a woman reading a letter.
Yes.
She appears to be reading her own ransom letter.
Yeah. So whether somebody's made her write her own ransom letter, I don't know. But she's being held to ransom. And the letter is being read in. We go to cut to the Retta, or the Retta being led by
Who's Loretta?
by a guy. He's reading this letter out to another guy.
Yeah.
Is he like the assistant to this girl's dad?
Yeah, basically, he's like the man slave.
Yeah.
The dad's so upset that his daughter's been kidnapped
Yeah.
that he's looking longingly into the fire.
Yeah, he's like a little old man, isn't he, looking into the fire. And the brother's sent off. Basically, the premise of the film is the brother's been sent off.
The man servant is reading the letter to the brother and saying, "Go undercover.
Yeah, go and get her back. Basically,
take the money. Don't pay the
money.
money. See if you can get her out.
Yeah,
Your sister has been held to ransom on this." He says cult, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does,
by this cult on this island community.
Yeah. He's like, take the ransom with you. Don't give them the ransom at least until you've seen her alive. But do your best.
And it's kind of like, she's been taken and it's driven your father crazy. Maybe only bringing her back will cure his madness. That sort of thing, isn't it?
Yes, that sort of that's your setup. That's what's happening, and then we cut straight into the film, and we go with this guy. His name was Thomas. Was his name?
Yep.
And he goes to this boat. He's going to get on this boat to get over onto this island. Before he does that, though, he switches tickets with another man.
Yeah, he does.
Because he notices a mark on his ticket.
Yeah.
As if somebody's marked him for whatever reason. We don't know why or who by.
Yeah, he's been singled out for something.
So he switches tickets with. He tricks this other man into switching tickets with him. And this other man gets an X put on his suitcase.
He does.
In chalk. Then he throws a goat off a boat.
That's right. He saves the goat.
Does he?
So they're at sea.
Nobody saves that goat. That goat's definitely drowned.
It's a choppy crossing.
Yeah.
And he's just talking, isn't he, to the other
there's like 6 or
people.
7 of them.
They're under like canvas on this small boat. And suddenly this goat or lamb just like wangs in through the
we
gap
don't know where
in
it
the
came
canvas.
from, but it just
and Thomas like he catches it, doesn't he? He like grabs this lamb before it goes off the back of the boat. And another guy snatches it off him and just hurls it out the back of the boat into the sea.
Yeah.
Just throws this goat in the sea.
and he's like, it's all right, God will intervene.
No, he says God said this thing's got to die. We can't intervene. I'm just helping it out. It would have gone out the back if you hadn't have stopped it. So
yeah, but he did stop it.
Yeah.
So God put that there as well, in theory. But
it was like, we don't stand in God's way.
Everybody's like, no, that's not how it fucking works.
No,
he killed that goat. Yeah. Then they arrive. They arrive at this remote island. It's quite mountainous. They have to trek up this like side of this cliff edge.
Yeah.
And they end up at this tiny little small town.
They're checking in, aren't they?
Yeah, they're kind of checking into this cult. And this doctor meets them and he's checking them all over. And they all get accepted. They then have to go and get assigned a dorm.
Getting checked for like lice and
and down your throat and shit. That was the most common thing I've ever said. And then we kind of cut. He gets assigned a dorm, and we kind of
Thomas gets he goes to his room, and there's I've put a cult book on his room.
It's like a Bible, but it's not a
bedstand.
Bible. It's the book of cult.
Yeah, the Gospel according to Prophet Malcolm.
Why was he called Malcolm? The other guy's called Quinn. That's a cooler name. And Prophet Frank's not quite as good, is it? A bit later on that night, he goes out for a bit of a stroll, and he sees the body of the other man that he switched tickets with getting dragged back to the town. Yeah,
he's alive.
Thomas doesn't know that at the time, but he's only just alive. He's being carried in. He's clearly been beaten to within an inch of his life. And then Michael Sheen turns up for the first time. This is the aforementioned Prophet Malcolm. He starts preaching at us, basically telling us about the religion that he's formed. He's formed this religion.
Yeah,
on this
they've
island.
escaped this island because they're free. It's their land. They're not governed by the man.
And they have their own goddess,
yeah,
who they worship on this island.
And as they are sitting in church, out of the corner of Thomas's eye, a sort of wispy, ethereal figure walks past the window.
In the first recording, you went wispy white woman.
Did I?
It made me laugh in the edit before the whole thing fucked up. Yeah, this wispy little
I
ethereal
meant as in...
Yeah, I know what you meant. she's like draped in white robes and stuff.
Yeah. There wasn't a comment on her
how you said it. Yeah, she's like this like ghostly, not ghost. She's not a ghost, but she's like a ghostly figure.
Frail,
Nobody really sees her.
see-through.
Yeah.
But Prophet Malcolm clocks that Thomas has seen her.
Yes.
And then it almost like, oh, you can see her as well.
Yeah.
And she just, she wanders past the window of the church.
Yeah. Then the sermon ends and they all leave the church. It's one of these little, you only ever see them in films. I don't know if they exist in real life, but they're little white wooden churches.
It's the Midnight Mass church.
Yeah, it is. Nothing good ever comes from those buildings, does it? And no matter what movie you see, if it's got a little white wooden church in the middle of a field, bad shit's going down.
I know. Obviously, this predates Midnight Mass, and there's a lot of films with this sort of weird culty island setting.
Yeah.
But because we've watched that reasonably recently, that was quite at the forefront of my mind as I was watching this movie.
I've just realised something that we forgot. Two things that we've forgotten to do at the beginning of this episode.
Okay.
We didn't talk about the director.
Okay.
Which is quite an important.
Let's do that now. Drop that in now.
So this film's written and directed by Gareth Evans.
Yeah. Also Welsh.
Also Welsh.
I'm putting my Welsh flag and saying that we are in an island off Wales.
Even though you said lock at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was just the train.
Yeah, true.
Anyway.
Where was that train even going?
I presume Thomas was going home.
Anyway, yeah, it's written and directed by Gareth Evans. If Gareth Evans is most famous for the two Raid movies,
Yep.
Raid and Raid 2, which are the best for action movies of all time, according to some people.
Some people would say so.
Do you say so?
They're fantastic.
I haven't seen them. I will watch them.
You would love them.
Do you think I would?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay. I'll watch them then.
Yeah, I think you'd have a great time.
Cool.
They're awesome. Evans has kind of got a deal with Netflix now because obviously he did this movie for them. This was bought as a Netflix original. His next movie is called Havoc.
Yep.
That is due later this year, I believe. That stars Tom Hardy and Forrest Whitaker.
Yes. Which was also filmed in Wales because you remember Forrest Whitaker went on holiday.
I do, yeah.
They were fun photos. The other thing we didn't do is I didn't ask you for a one-word review.
No, I don't think you asked me for that in the first version
really?
either because I haven't got one.
Oh. Would you like to come up with one?
Sure.
That's not a very good one.
Muddy.
Muddy. It's very muddy.
It's a really muddy film.
It is very muddy. Where did we get to? Here. So we find out at that point then that the dude that's been dragged back into the town who Thomas switched tickets with isn't dead.
He is being interrogated.
He's being interrogated in this cabin.
Forcefully.
They've fucked him up is what they've done. They're beating the living bejesus out of him. Malcolm comes in. He's like, it's pretty obvious that this isn't the guy we've been looking for.
Yeah, he doesn't know anything. He's not going to stand up to this beating and then not.
The one lingering
squeal.
question from this is, how did they know somebody was coming?
Yeah.
And how did they not know who it was going to be?
So all I can, and this is more picking it apart afterwards, is that all I can put together is someone on the mainland with a tie to the island marks Thomas's ticket.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, this guy's
coming for
it. He was in on it.
'Cause
Yeah.
They've got his sister.
He was getting ratted out. Yeah.
But we don't quite know how. But Malcolm's quite clear. He comes in, he's like, this isn't the guy.
Yeah. He would have squealed if this
He would have squealed. So he slits his throat and kills him.
Yeah.
And then says, what that means is that somebody out on this island now is the guy.
Yeah, there's a mole here somewhere.
There's a mole here somewhere.
So they've just killed an innocent guy.
Yeah. So we need to know who it is. And that's basically where we go from this point onwards, isn't it? And then we crash cut to two completely new characters that we've not met before.
Yeah.
They're a pair of young lovers.
Yeah.
This is Jeremy and Fionn.
Fionn.
They're young, 16, 17. They are getting it on, basically. They're planning their future together. They're sitting in a little rowing boat that's not at sea. It's just on the land.
Yeah.
And they're just chatting. They're obviously clearly in love, very much in love.
And then Fion's like, I've had enough of this talk.
She's all over him, like a rat up a drain pipe.
He's quickly astride Jeremy, isn't she?
She does. She doesn't
Riches out the way. And...
Yeah, she doesn't hold back at all. They do some naughty on this little rowing boat.
The boats are rocking, don't come a knocking. It's the rule we've got on this stream boat.
This film's set in 1905. It's a pretty risky thing they're doing at that point. But it doesn't pay off well for them at the end.
They're clearly in a secret relationship, aren't they?
They've both grown up. We find out later on they've both grown up on this island their entire lives. They've been there pretty much. And they've clearly grown up together and grown to fall in love with each other. Later that night, Thomas sneaks out. He's going to case the joint, see what's going on.
Kind of.
This is a bit where I missed something out.
No.
Okay.
There's Well, it almost is. But Prophet Malcolm rings a bell in town.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, bedtime,
That's
lights
the night
out.
bell. I
Lights
think he
out.
calls it the night bell.
It's curfew.
Yeah.
And then immediately everyone gets out of the
Gets
house
out
and
of the
walks
houses.
around.
Yeah. The night bell rings a couple of times in this film, and it's always the start of a scene.
Yeah.
It's not like, right, everybody's gone to bed now, we'll just close the scene off.
Thomas immediately leaves his dorm.
Yeah, he's going to like case the joint, have a look around, see what's going on.
He passes a window and sees the woman who was in front of him at a check-in
Yes.
slicing her arm open.
Yeah, which I did see.
And yeah,
There's a whole bit of this film here that I missed. So Nick's going to talk you through this bit.
that's fine. Because they were all told when they checked in, have you got your receptacle?
Yes, I remember that.
And she's like catching this blood that she's sliced her arm open. He also sees Prophet Malcolm
Yeah.
through a window,
Yeah.
kind of go into a basement.
Yeah, he opens like a trapdoor in his house and goes down.
And Thomas sort of goes around the other side of the house and he's like, oh, he's not come out.
Yeah,
So
that's
there
weird.
seems to be some sort of tunnel.
Secret tunnel in Prophet Malcolm's house.
He then bumps into Theon,
Yeah.
swiftly followed by Jeremy coming back out the woods.
Yeah, they didn't leave much of a gap between the two.
No,
did they?
and Thomas is instantly like, well, I know what you two have been doing.
So he knows their secret. They know his secret because he's out at night.
Yeah, so there is an acknowledgement that they've spotted.
Yeah, there's
each
no
other.
words passed, but
No.
the eye contact is there.
You then missed a whole section of
I
this
did.
movie where Thomas returns to his dorm.
I didn't even miss it. I didn't miss it. I don't have any memory of it.
He returns to his dorm, which is down. He's sort of at the end of this quite long corridor.
Yeah.
And he notices that everyone else has left outside their door a sort of partially full jar of blood.
Right.
He gets back to his room and he's like, "Well,
I've not got a jug.
Well, no, he's got a jug. He's like, I'm not slicing myself open." So he takes the jar from the room opposite him and he half fills his, puts it down outside his door. He then takes his key out of his pocket. He opens his door and cuts himself on his key because they're ridiculously sharp and they've got like a hook on them.
Stabby keys.
So because he's accidentally cut his thumb, blood drips down onto the floorboards. Thomas goes back into his room and the scary witch lady is under the floorboards and she drinks this blood.
Honestly, no memory
It's a
of any
proper,
of that
like, jump
happening.
scare. She's like, she's sort of scratching at the floorboards and she's lapping up this blood that
I can't
drips
even
out.
explain what I would have been doing at that point because it's not like we
It's
were
like a
making a
good
lot of notes. At this point in the film.
90-second sequence, I would say.
It's just not there. It's just not in my. If I did see it, I obviously did see it. I just chose to not write anything down about it for some reason.
Thomas then goes back into his room and he sketches a map of the town.
Yeah, so he's been casing the town and he's drawn himself a little
Yeah.
map, and he puts a little X on the map where Prophet Malcolm lives and where his trapdoor in his house was.
We then cut back to Prophet Malcolm, who is emerging from a trapdoor in the woods.
Yeah.
In front of a big cabin.
Yeah, like an overgrown
Yeah.
cabin in the woods.
Like from some Evil
Type
Dead
deal,
type
yeah.
looking
Yeah,
thing.
it was exactly like that.
And it cuts.
Cuts till next morning.
Yeah.
Wake up next morning. Thomas gets rudely awakened by a knock at his door. It's Jeremy.
Yeah.
And he finds out that he's late for work, which he didn't know he had.
He didn't know he had a
He
job.
didn't know he had a job, but he has got a job, so he's got this work detail and he's late for it. So the young lad, Jeremy, kind of, they're chatting as they're working, aren't they?
Yeah, but Jeremy is kind of trying very clumsily to quiz Thomas on what
why
he
he-
knows from last night.
He was
and
trying to
why
question why he
you
was
were
out last night,
Yeah.
and then Thomas is like, "Well, why were you out last night?"
Yeah.
More is the question. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And it becomes clear that they've both got a secret, so they kind of form this bond over this secret that they've got, and then they go and smash up a boat.
Yeah.
So
Jeremy's like, I know where there's a boat. Come and help me smash it up. We'll take it back.
yeah,
for
we need the wood
for the building.
They're building a new building,
Yeah.
and they need the wood. So they do that.
I've got my first nitpick with this movie here.
Yeah.
Because on the way back, hauling this wood back to town, Thomas kind of just takes a bit of a leap of faith, doesn't he?
He
And
spills his guts.
he
doesn't
says, Jeremy, I'm here to look for my sister.
Yeah, no,
Here's a picture.
basically
Where is
reveals
she?"
everything.
Yeah.
We find out at some point later on that Jeremy's the son of a founder of this island.
Yeah.
I don't know if Thomas knew this or not.
No, I
but
don't think
he literally went all in on his relationship with Jeremy.
Yeah.
I guess because he knew he had Jeremy's secret, and it was
yeah,
a
and he
big
thought the
secret,
guy
and-
could be susceptible, but that's
yeah,
what he doesn't know. This guy's lived there his whole life.
Yeah.
He could have easily just ratted him out.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a bit of a leap.
But it paid off because Jeremy says, look, yeah, I do know who you're talking about.
She's here. She's
She
still
is
alive.
here. She's alive. They have got her. They desperately need the money because all the crops are dying on the island.
Yeah, we're really struggling.
The animals are unable to breed for whatever reason. But then Jeremy basically begs him. He's like, whatever you do not give them the money.
Yeah.
Do not pay them the ransom. He basically begs them not to. And Thomas is fine. I won't. But you and me are a team now. We work together.
It says, you're working for me. You need to help me. And if you don't, I will reveal your affair.
Yes. But it's a friendship come blackmail situation.
Yeah.
We cut from there to Fionn. She's talking with.
No, there's another bit. Just you missed. Sorry. It's quite important.
Okay.
For later in the story. So we cut to Prophet Malcolm and Quinn, and they're birthing a lamb.
Yeah.
From a
sheep.
That's
how it works.
But the lamb's all fucked up.
Yeah, it's all deformed and black.
It's got like its guts on the outside. And Prophet's like, oh, nothing will live here. Nothing will.
It's not working. Whatever we're doing is not working.
This island is dying. Yeah.
And Quinn takes this lamb and puts it head first in a bucket of water.
Yeah.
Literally as soon as it's born. Then we cut to Fionn, do we not?
We do.
She is talking with Andrea, who is Prophet Malcolm's daughter.
Yes. She's
a little bit older. She's a little bit wiser. And she's like, I might be pregnant.
How do I know?
How would I know if I was pregnant or not?
And Angela says, well
Andrea.
You can't. Sorry, Andrea says.
We had this conversation in the last one.
We did, didn't we? Because for some reason, I've written her name Angela.
All the way through?
Yeah.
But her name's definitely Andrea.
Yeah. I think it's because I know some Angelas and I don't know any Andreas.
True. I don't know any Andreas either. Or I do know a couple of Angelas.
Must be my subconscious.
Malcolms? Do you know any Malcolms?
Yes.
Do you?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I don't think I've ever even met a Malcolm. Apologies if you're called Malcolm and you have met me.
I know a couple. I know a couple of Malcolms.
But as in they're a couple?
No. No, that would be cool.
That would be cool. A couple of Malcolms.
But I would say I know double the Angelas to Malcolms. That would be my ratio.
Okay, like 4-2.
Yeah, or 2-1 because that's what people would usually.
Yeah, but you said you knew two Malcolms, so you must know 4 Angelas. I think that's what's just happened. Anyway,
I'm lost.
I'm lost as well. So yeah, they have a bit of a chat about how would she find out if she was pregnant or not.
That's what I was going to say. Andrea says you can't be pregnant because you've never done it.
Yeah,
and Fionn goes, I've
done
been
it a lot.
going at it like the clappers, mate.
For a long time.
Yeah.
I've
Me and Jeremy, rabbits.
Every night.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Andrew's like, oh, okay, well then you might be. Who knows? Cut from there, all the new arrivals who are male have been gathered at the church.
Yeah, so everyone who turned up on Thomas's boat.
Everyone who was on his boat and who was a man have been gathered at the church because Prophet Malcolm is going to try and weed out who this mole is.
Yeah.
Because he knows it turned up on that boat. There's 7 or 8 of them.
Yeah,
these guys. He says, "I know one of you was out after." I don't know how he knows, but one of them was out after.
Yeah,
the
this
night
was
bell
a leap
rang.
as well.
Yeah.
How did he know someone was out?
Yeah, so he knows somebody was out, but he doesn't know which one of them was out. And he has a way to weed this mole out because they've all been, presumably in the past, been told to memorize a verse from the Holy Book of Malcolm.
Yeah,
that's what I'm calling it. Don't know if that's what it was called. So they have to recite. He makes them recite this book, this verse from this book, and so they start doing it. There's like 2 or 3
each
guys
one
who do
like
it,
carries on
from where the last one finished. Yeah. Thomas can't do that because Thomas is the mole.
Didn't do his homework.
Didn't prepare for this. He hasn't prepared for this creepy island. But he gets a bit lucky at this point.
Yeah.
Because the guy who's sitting next to him also can't do it.
No.
Because he's also not a part of this community. Was he a cop? Or
He pulls out a knife, this guy, and he shouts for king and country.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I presume he's some kind of government agent.
Yeah. He tries to kill Prophet Malcolm. It doesn't end well for him.
Thomas kind of throws himself in the line of fire.
Thomas is like, I've got an opportunity here to get on board with these guys.
He takes a stabbing.
He does. He gets slashed across the chest, doesn't he? It's like, trying to save Prophet Malcolm. And then this guy gets speared.
By the guards.
By all the guards. Put all their spears through him. And he's basically standing up, dead, with all these spears holding him up. There's like
he's
6 or 7
gone all
spears.
Like gurgly, hasn't he?
Yeah, there's all those 6 or 7 spears through him, holding him up. It's horrible.
It's the first hint of
what's to come.
The level of gore in this movie.
It's quite a gruesome scene. You see those spears enter him in all different directions.
It's very squelchy, isn't it? This film.
Yeah, that would have been a good one. Review. Doesn't change it.
No, because mud can also be squelchy.
True. I don't think anybody keeps a record of your one road reviews, so it doesn't really matter.
I like to think someone there has got a
You reckon somebody's got a
spreadsheet that
spreadsheet?
they've done.
Probably Ross. So that guy dies, and then Malcolm suddenly can trust Thomas.
Yeah.
So we don't carry on with this reading the verses.
No, they don't carry on to find out this.
Who the mole was. We just presume it was that
And,
guy.
well, no, because they take Thomas back to what acts as a doctor's surgery.
I think it was just their house. I think
Yeah.
it was Prophet Malcolm's house because Andrea was there
And she treats him.
and she treats him, even though they've got a doctor who we met earlier.
And Prophet Malcolm says,
And we never meet again.
Prophet Malcolm cuts his own hand and he puts it upon Thomas and says, "You bled for me, I bleed for you.
Yeah.
We are brothers."
Yeah.
So we're like, oh, well, he's well
He's
in
got him
there
on
now.
side.
But then Prophet Malcolm turns to Quinn and Frank and says, well, the person we're looking for is still out there.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not sure why they've dismissed this.
They didn't know. They're dismissing the guy they've just killed.
Yeah.
And but they're not going to carry on with the way they were trying to.
No,
find
they
him.
had like 4 more people to check.
Yeah.
Making this very difficult. That's
They
all
are
I'm
making
saying.
it very difficult for themselves. So they leave Thomas there with Andrea. She bandages him all up, sorts him out. They have a bit of a bonding session.
Yeah, she reveals, if we hadn't worked out already, that she is Prophet Malcolm's daughter.
Yeah. Then later that night, Prophet Malcolm comes out again. The night bell rings again.
Yeah, time to go to bed.
Time to go to bed. But no, he's coming out this time.
Yeah.
He's coming out. He's on a cart. And he's got a lady on the cart all tied up.
Mhm.
And he's shouting. And he's like, I've got this lady. I'm going to kill this lady unless this mole reveals himself. So we find that at this point we realise that's Thomas's sister.
Yep, Jennifer.
Thomas can hear all this kerfuffle going on
He's
outside.
watching it out his window.
He's watching it out. Well, what we haven't mentioned again is that he was on some sort of opioids at this point.
Yeah, so
He was
Thomas has
taking
been
some
like
sort of drugs
taking droplets of this.
to kind of keep him sane and keep him
Yeah.
calm, I think. But he gives up at this point. He throws him against the wall
Yeah.
and full on balls out. Thomas comes out.
So this is like, he goes through like the DTs in like 30 seconds, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's kind of never mentioned again in this
No,
movie,
it's not.
is
It didn't
That's
need to
a
be
bit
there, did it?
convenient,
It didn't need to be
isn't
there from the beginning.
Yeah.
So Malcolm's like,
He
I'm gonna,
resists. He doesn't
He
reveal
doesn't-
himself.
doesn't go
He
out.
doesn't
Nobody
go
else
and
does
saves
either.
his sister.
so they're basically, he calls Malcolm's bluff. Because he knows Malcolm needs this money. He's
Yeah.
not going to kill this girl. And he doesn't. He leaves her tied up in the street. And the next morning, she's still there. She's all chained up in the street. She is getting things prodded at her by kids. And all that sort of shit's going
Andrea kind of takes pity and brings her some breakfast.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Fion's at the toilet hole
on. She is.
and she's sort of taking a mirror to her undercarriage.
Undercarriage.
'Cause she's still trying to work out if
She's pregnant or not.
yeah,
So she's got
looking
this
for the
like,
baby, I
handheld mirror
presume.
looking up herself. But somebody's looking at her at the same time.
Yeah, there's an eye through
There's
a
an eye
peephole.
through a peephole. Why is there a
Creepy.
peephole in the toilet door?
I don't know.
For a start. That's bad. It's her dad.
Yeah, because it turns out she is Quinn's daughter.
Yeah. So Andrea's Malcolm's daughter. Fionn is Quinn's daughter. Jeremy's Frank's son.
Yeah.
They're the three
Founders.
formationers. They're the three founders of the island.
Not a word.
And Quinn's, you took it that he was perving on his own daughter, but I don't think he was. I think he was just trying to see what she was up to. But
Yes, because he's distrustful. I think
he's a
with a
distrustful
week's
guy.
hindsight, I think you're right.
I don't think he was a paedophile.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. Andrea takes pity on Thomas's sister and brings her some food out into the street. And Thomas is watching all this from the rooftop that he's building.
Yeah.
And he's like, turns to Jeremy, he's like, right, this is happening now. Be ready. We're going to go.
Yeah, because it turns out there is some sort of festival that
Yeah,
very
We're
evening.
having a party tonight.
And Thomas says, right, we're going to make our move.
Yep. Tonight.
Stick with me.
Stick with me. So he he doesn't go to the party, but he has to get through the party to get to where he wants to go. And whilst he's doing that, he meets up with Andrea.
Just as he's getting ready to leave his room,
Oh, yeah.
because he's like last to the party, Thomas, fashionably late. There's like a creepy clown kid at the end of the corridor who like
Yeah, I didn't
bends
see him
over
either.
double. And it's a kid in the costume for the
Yeah.
party. It was really creepy.
It was. I saw it. You put a gif of it on Twitter. And
I did.
I didn't see that either. There's something about that corridor just made my eyes go off, apparently.
Because the white woman was at the end of it at one point as well.
Right, okay. I'll take your word for it. Don't know why I didn't see that corridor. So he goes out into the street. Andrea collars him and she's like, shall we dance?
She's literally straight away like, me,
Dance now. Let's go.
let's get it on. Thomas like has to give her the brush
But
off.
she gets a bit of a read on him as well at this point because she's like, You're not who you say you are.
Yeah,
You're
she's like, you've got the eyes of someone who has seen things.
I was like, that's a nice, cool line.
And it's like, oh, you're getting turned on by the fact that he's like a man who's done stuff.
Had lived a life. While the party's going on, Quinn and Prophet Malcolm are searching people's rooms.
Yeah, so it's searching the dorms.
Yeah, just to try and get to the bottom of this.
Get any kind of clue.
Conveniently, they start with Thomas's dorm.
Sure.
But they do explain that it's because Malcolm doesn't think it's Thomas.
Yeah, he
So
says, why are we even in
Why are we even bothering in here? And then he finds his little map.
Yeah, kind of accidentally.
Yeah, just he notices.
I think he drops his walking stick.
Yeah, he does, and it's tucked under the drawers, and he notices it on the floor. And I think that kind of gives the whole game away.
Yeah. Meanwhile, while they're doing this searching,
Yeah,
Jeremy and Thomas are underneath Prophet Malcolm's house.
yeah, kind of digging their way in,
Yeah.
digging up.
removing some of the bricks so
Yeah.
Thomas can get in and explore these tunnels that he thinks are there.
And he does get in.
Yeah.
He gets in, and whilst he's in, Jeremy's rebuilding the wall, and then he suddenly gets pulled out by the legs.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows something's going on. But luckily, the person who's found him is his own dad. Frank's found him. So he lets him go. He's like, get the fuck out of it. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But they now know that Thomas or somebody... I think at this point they'd figured out that it was him.
Yeah, Quinn and Malcolm come down from the dorms and they say to Frank, "What's going on?" He says, "There's no one under there."
But there is somebody in there.
But I think he's gone in.
Yeah.
He's in the house.
Yeah. And we think at this point that we know that it's Thomas. They know that it's
Yeah.
Thomas now because of this little map.
Prophet Malcolm says, "Frank, go and get my gun. I want you to follow Thomas."
Yeah.
And Quinn's like, "Why aren't you sending me?"
Yeah.
And Prophet Malcolm says, "Because you would kill him. And I want him alive so
Yeah.
we can question him."
And I'm going to ride off on this horse in the meantime.
Yeah.
So Malcolm rides off on a horse. Frank goes into the tunnels, and Quinn presumably goes back to the party.
Yeah.
Thomas finds a whole underground tunnel system.
Yeah.
That's like built from Malcolm's house.
That's quite the engineering.
It is, yeah. It's like a whole mine shaft. So he goes through it. He's like, well, let's see what's at the other end of this. So he goes under. Meanwhile, Prophet Malcolm is now at the other end, in where we saw him earlier at this
out in front of this
in the
cabin.
woods. And he has a gun pointed at the entrance to this tunnel system.
He's above the hatch.
So he's waiting for Thomas. He's waiting in prey for Thomas to come out.
Yeah.
So he's going to shoot him. Luckily, Thomas does make his way to the end of this, but he manages to hear that Malcolm's up there.
Malcolm's horse
Brays
inconveniently whinnies.
Yeah, whinnies. Oh,
That's weird, isn't it?
yeah.
Because it's not a full on neigh. It's
No,
like
it's
a.
like I was going to make a horse noise.
I
didn't-
couldn't keep it together enough for you to follow through with your horse impression.
I'm not doing it. So he doesn't go up. He hides because
He starts to backtrack.
yeah,
Unfortunately, he then hears someone
Coming
behind
the
him,
opposite
which is
way.
obviously Frank, who's
Yeah.
following him from the village.
rather conveniently, although not convenient, is there's an underground
Hole.
full of blood.
Yeah.
That's like a tunnel
It's like
in a tunnel.
a tributary.
Yes. So he gets in it up to his neck in it.
Yeah.
But there's only like 5 inches between his head and the ceiling now.
Yeah.
It's quite claustrophobic. It was like, oh, this is horrible.
Yeah. He sort of
kinda-
just drags
He's
himself
kind of wading
by
through
the
it.
roof along this.
Yeah, backwards
Yeah.
through this water. And then
There's some feathers in the water.
there's some feathers in the water, and this I didn't like this bit at all. I don't know if people know this or not, but I've got a real terrible phobia of birds. I hate birds with a passion. And then all of a sudden, this pile of feathers just starts clucking in his face and flapping its feathers in his face. And it made me go, "Whoa, the
He's
fuck?"
in a river of blood. Let me just.
He's in a river of blood,
reiterate.
underground, twice underground, because he's underground in the tunnel and underground in this river of blood under the tunnel. And then this chicken's flapping in his face. And that wasn't for me. It was more scary than when the witch woman turns up in a minute.
Yeah, because he gets past this chicken
Dying
flapping at
chicken.
him, and then the previously white, now red woman, because she's covered in blood, like grabs at him.
Yeah. It's like striding away through this water.
Yeah.
And he's freaking out. He's like, what the fuck? Because it was pretty scary.
It's
There's
horrible.
a lot going on at this point.
We have not really mentioned the score to this.
Yeah.
But every time it's really cutting and it's claustrophobic. It really adds to the claustrophobia of this. It's an intense score.
It's a really intense scene as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. There's glue. It's not like liquid blood either. It's like gloopy, mucusy blood. He's wading through it. There's chickens flapping in his face. It's claustrophobic. The camera's right up close to him. Then this zombie witch woman comes out of there as well, and he freaks out as you would. But he does manage to get out. He gets out. She disappears.
Yeah.
And he's in this like cave area.
Yeah, he
now.
surfaces in this pool.
Yeah.
And he's in a cave. Yeah.
There's loads of like cave paintings on the walls and
Yeah.
stuff. It's really weird. my next line says, "The prophet goes into the cabin and finds a woman wrapped in a tree."
I've put there's a tree vampire.
Yeah. Again, how is this possible?
I'm going to state right now. Before when we get to the end and I sort of say what I think of this movie. It is a stumbling block for me. The reveal here is that there is a tree witch
Yeah.
who
Again.
drinks blood
Yeah.
powering this island.
Yeah.
Because that is exactly what happened when we reviewed Paradise Hills. Last season?
Yeah. There can only be 2 films that have witch tree vampire women who are half tree, half human. There can only be 2 ever made, and we've now done both of them on the show.
I mean, I don't think there's a lot.
It's not a genre, for definite. It threw me out of the film because I was like, this can't be
Me
happening
too.
again.
Me too. It took me a while to get back in because
Yeah.
I was so taken aback with like, oh, that's weird.
It is so weird that it's
seen
happened
this in
twice.
another film.
Yeah. It's very strange that it's happened twice. They are kind of different, it turns out, but
This woman is creepy. She's old. She's withered. It's
Yeah.
all horrible. Paradise Hills. She's slick.
yeah.
It's polished. They don't look anything alike, but it's the same
It's the same concept.
concept.
Yeah.
100%. Took me out of it.
It did. It threw,
And it's me.
it threw
It's not
me out
this
of it,
film's
so I wasn't-
fault.
I didn't see it coming at all. There's
No.
no indication that this is going to happen earlier in the film.
It's our
It just
problem.
happened.
We've got.
It is
to deal
our
with it.
problem. Yeah, it's not the film's fault. Anyway, Prophet Malcolm goes to this woman. He starts talking to her, and he says to her, "Why did you show yourself to him?
Yeah.
Why
She
him?"
kind of sneers at him.
Yeah, she hates him. You can see this.
Then, over just in the background, this guy with like a wicker mask on
Yeah,
drags a body bag through the room,
yeah,
but the body bag's moving.
yeah. The person's alive. Whoever's in there. I don't think we ever find out who's in there.
Not specifically who's in that one.
No, we do find.
And he
out.
hangs it in a wardrobe. Well,
Yeah,
not a wardrobe.
wardrobe.
He hangs it next to
Yeah.
a load of other body bags.
Yeah, he does. Who
And
is
this
this guy?
this guy's like, what an image this was.
Yeah, he's like half naked, top half naked, wicker mask on,
Yeah, covered in blood
Blood.
and sweat and
grime.
yeah.
This creepy masked dude. Cut back to Prophet Malcolm, who's now feeding this tree woman blood.
Yeah.
He's got like a funnel in her mouth, and he's like feeding it to her.
And as she is fed, the flowers like blue.
Yeah, and he says to her, "You need to stop poisoning the crop because we can't live here. You're poisoning this island.
Yeah.
You need to stop." We don't know why she's doing it, but she's doing it because the island's dying. Andrea then magically shows up where Thomas is.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, I knew you'd.
I knew
come
you'd
out
be here. Don't know how, but I suppose if she knows that tunnel's there and she knows he's not come out at the cabin, then there's only one other exit.
Yeah.
So she's turned up there at the cave. She's got him a change of clothes because
Yeah.
she's like, "I knew you'd have to crawl through the blood tunnel."
Thomas completely cleans himself with like 3 drips of water.
Yeah. It does.
Bearing in mind he was
It does.
covered in blood.
There's like a little trickle, like drips off a stalactite or which one's up? Stalagmite. And he just cleans himself in this tiny little drip of water, and his whole face is now clean. It was very strange. She notices his back's all scarred up,
Yeah.
so she asks him about it, and he says it's from his former faith.
Yeah, he says I lost my faith. Thanks
Yeah.
for asking about those scars. Here's a convenient bit of backstory.
Yeah, so I didn't like this bit.
I didn't need this.
We didn't. The film doesn't need it. It's unnecessary. So we get a flashback to when he used to live in Peking.
Yeah. He was a missionary.
Yeah, he was a missionary in Peking. He gets attacked by these local tribes.
Yeah.
And eventually he gets branded on his back of a
With a cross.
huge cross.
They're like killing all these missionaries. I thought this was a bit insensitive as well.
Yeah, a little bit.
It was a bit
it
kind of
didn't
like
sit quite right, did it?
the uncultured,
Savages,
Asians,
Asian
yeah.
savages. Yeah,
unnecessary.
Unnecessary, yeah.
That would be.
it was just didn't need to be there. It was like,
Yeah.
just tell us he's lost his faith and he used to beat himself or whatever. He says he completely lost his faith. That made him lose his faith. Nothing is pure in this world. The only thing that is pure in this world is my sister.
Yeah.
Where the fuck's my sister? Basically. He tells Andrea, look, my sister's here. She didn't come here of her own free will. She is being kept here.
He says your dad's not who you think he is. He's capable. He's a bad man. He's capable
Yeah.
of worse as well.
And Andrea doesn't seem surprised by this news.
But she doesn't want.
She doesn't want to believe it, but she also isn't surprised by it. So she takes him to a cornfield.
Yeah, she says, "I've got somewhere. No one else will know that you're there. Because obviously you're now a wanted man." So
Yes.
it's just a stall in the middle of a field.
Yeah, it's just basically she's just built this little hut in a field from corn. But she shows him the earth and how it is scorched and you can't grow anything
dying.
there. As soon as you put water on it, it starts bubbling up and it goes all horrible. The film cuts there.
She says this is the last chance to draw breath in this film. Pretty much.
That's what I was just going to say. That
she says, look, it used to be a bountiful crop.
Yeah.
The things lived here, and she says something has angered the goddess.
Yeah, and there's a very real cut there, and it's this point from this point onwards.
Yeah,
this film never stops again. Yeah. The tempo ramps up now,
and I would say I didn't like that little flashback to the Chinese bit, but the bit in the cave and then her taking Thomas to the cornfield. It is the last time this movie draws breath.
Yeah,
till the end.
There's an hour left.
Yeah, and
it's non-stop, balls to the wall now, and we're gonna go for it. Here we go. Let's go. So we cut to Jeremy. Jeremy is with Fionn.
Yeah.
And she reveals to him that she is pregnant.
Sure.
She is going to have a baby. So he says...
They are both delighted.
Yeah, he says, that's excellent news. I'm so excited. Let's get married. Let's do this properly. Let's get off this island. Go and get married. Let's do this properly. Sort it out. Quinn is watching this.
He sees that they're in the hut.
Yes. Because then Jeremy leaves, doesn't he?
He says, I've got something to show you.
I've got a present for you.
Yeah. Which is his mistake.
Yes.
So he leaves.
He leaves
her on her own.
He leaves her on her own. Quinn comes in.
He bursts in as Fionn seems to be packing a case.
Yes. And he kind of knows exactly what's going on now. He's figured it out.
He's like...
He is not happy.
Can't believe you're with that kid.
You're going to ruin your whole life. Also, things can't be born here.
Yeah.
This is lost now.
Yeah. He's like, that...
If it wasn't for the sinning...
Aberration in your belly is going to kill you.
Kill you. And itself. And also, you're a sinner because you've shagged this guy a lot out of wedlock.
He's an angry man.
So he's like, I'm going to cut this out of you.
Yeah.
I'm going to get this abomination out of you. So he beats her up and we cut away from it. We don't see it happening, but we know it's going on. Meanwhile, Frank is also planning on leaving the island.
Yeah, he tells Malcolm that he and Jeremy will be leaving.
I assume Frank has been made aware. Why would he? Is he just a coincidence that he's leaving at the same time?
No, because he helped Jeremy out, didn't he?
Yes.
And so I presume off screen that maybe Jeremy's...
There's been a conversation had. Yeah, okay. So he's packing up a boat and Prophet Malcolm comes up to him and says, look, you can't leave.
You founded this place.
You founded this place with me. We've been here since the start. Things are not good at the minute, but it's going to get better. We need this place. And Frank says, this place is hell.
Yeah.
That was the word, the physical words, the actual words he used.
He says, you know it's finished. Look in your heart.
Yeah. So, but the prophet says, look, we can fix it. And he's like, nah, we're done. I'm leaving. Meanwhile, we come back to Quinn and Fionn. Quinn's
still fighting.
She's giving a bit of a fight back. He wants to know who's the father is. He calls it an abomination mongoloid bastard is the words that he uses. And that it will kill you. He draws his knife. He's like, I'm going to cut it out of you. Jeremy then arrives back at the house where they live.
Yeah, opens the door.
And Fionn is now dead on the floor.
Yeah.
She's all cut up. Their belly's all cut up. And Quinn's still there.
Standing over her.
With the knife. He's kind of cleaning his knife off, isn't he? This guy is not a nice guy. This might be the best villain we've ever had on the show. It's not a nice guy. It's a great performance.
Oh, it's a brilliant performance.
It's a beautiful.
We'll get to my favourite bit of his performance very shortly.
Yeah, but he's not one of the good guys. So Jeremy comes in, not knowing what's going on. He finds the dead body of his missus. Her dad's still there. They start fighting.
Yeah.
Jeremy puts up a decent fight as well.
He managed to grab a razor blade, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
And he slices Quinn. Not quite deep enough, unfortunately, but he slices him across the neck.
Yeah, it's like he's trying to slit his throat. Quinn manages to crawl out of the building.
He's much bigger and stronger than Jeremy.
He's a huge guy. He's a big old unit, and Jeremy's a little weakling of a boy. Quinn manages to crawl out into the street. He's holding his neck on, basically. He's all blood's pissing out of his neck, and he starts shouting "Murderer, murderer!" in the street.
Shouts for the guards, doesn't he?
Calling for the guards. Jeremy comes out. He's like, "No, that's not what's happened." But then he isn't going to. His voice is not going to be heard in this. So
Yeah,
he
remember
runs.
Quinn is a founder. He's one of the
he's
guys in charge.
the leader. So Jeremy flees off into the forest. The guards start chasing him. Quinn sounds the cat like alarm.
This was amazing. This
Yeah, it
part.
was.
So Quinn turns around. He's got people are watching him. He says, "Bring the heathen table." Sound the alarm, and the people are like, "Well, only Prophet Malcolm can do that.
Yeah, you're not allowed to.
He's our
sound the
leader."
alarm.
And Quinn says, "I'm a founder. I'm a leader." And as he's giving this speech, he's got his hand over his neck. There's blood pouring
out
everywhere,
of him.
and the camera sort of pans around him. It's
Yeah.
really well directed,
Yeah,
and
it
it's so well acted.
It's-
This guy is a fucking monster.
Yeah, he's now taken over this island in his rage.
Yeah.
The guy who's sounding the alarm does start to sound the alarm, but he isn't allowed to.
Yeah.
There's only Malcolm that's allowed to set off this alarm. But the guy, I can't remember his name now, but the guy who plays Quinn is fucking wonderful in this. Meanwhile, the guards do catch up with Jeremy. They manage to catch him exactly where Andrea and Thomas are in this cornfield.
Secret cornfield.
that nobody knows about. But so he gets caught right in front of them too.
And they drag him away.
They drag him away. They drag him back to the town. Jeremy and Angela and Thomas are shouting after them like, "What the fuck's going on?" But they carry him back to town, and I've written here, strap him to a table, but they don't strap him to a table.
They do, and Quinn.
They clamp him. To
They kind of it's a vice.
it is.
His legs and arms and head are between a vice.
The bit where they
vices.
put his head in a vice is horrendous.
Well, yeah, because we get Jeremy vision.
Yeah, we get
and
Jeremy's eye.
as they tighten up, his head pans round
Yeah,
to the
'cause
sky.
His head kind of looks up because he's being forced to look in one direction, and then
There's a crack.
there's a crack, and all the blood starts pouring into what we can see.
Yeah.
So the sky starts turning red.
It's nasty, and Quinn is now
It's really nasty.
full on staging a coup.
Yeah.
He's preaching himself, isn't he? Saying, "Look, I found the rat. This guy Thomas is a rat."
Yeah. So the guards have got Thomas as well now.
Yeah.
He's like,
And he's saying, "I'm one of your leaders as well," and
Yeah.
he's on the verge of dethroning Prophet Malcolm.
yeah,
here.
basically. Then, possibly the goriest thing we've ever seen on the show happens. He pulls out a drill, which is part of this table. It's obviously designed
Yeah.
for this exact purpose. And it's got like a hole saw on the top. And he literally burrows into Jeremy's head.
Yeah.
He razor blades some of his hair off.
Yeah.
And drills into his head and makes a great
Pulls
big...
his brain out.
Yeah, basically claws his
It's
head.
disgusting.
It's
so
so
squelchy and cracky.
squelchy
and-
again. It's brutal. It's really brutal. Even I was like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's almost too much. And I watch all sorts of weird shit.
Remember earlier in the season we watched a classic horror story,
I do.
the Italian horror film.
Yeah.
Someone's strapped to a table in that,
Yeah.
and it's quite similar.
Yeah.
There's like a drill. They don't even think about showing this level of
No,
gore or detail.
Not even a little
and that's
bit.
an Italian horror movie.
They wouldn't have even crossed their mind to go into this much detail.
It's all off camera.
Yeah.
Here,
None of it is. You see that drill enter his skull. You see the hole saw enter his skull. And then you see in the hole when the drills come back
yeah,
out
we see
again.
this guy's empty cranium.
Yep. Because Quinn's got a little rose petal.
Yeah.
And he puts a rose
It's
petal
like
into the
this
hole.
will cleanse the
This will
heathen.
cleanse the heathen as he goes wherever he's going next. Yeah, so Jeremy's dead.
Yeah.
It's also the second film he's got something put in his head. I've
That's
just
true.
noticed that we've done. Then Frank shows up with the prophet, Malcolm. Obviously, Frank is Jeremy's dad. He figures out what the fuck's gone on.
Yeah.
He's very angry. Quinn's shouting at the prophet. He's shouting all sorts of...
You're not fit to lead.
not-
This place is dying because
Yeah,
of you.
because
I
of
can
you.
make it better.
He calls him a false prophet. Jeremy gets taken off into a house with Frank weeping over his body. And then Quinn says to him, if you want to be in charge of this island, Mr. Malcolm, you need to kill Thomas in front of your daughter.
Yeah.
Um,
Show us you've still got the stuff.
Yep. So he gives him the razor blade and he says, kill him. Go over there. He's over there. The guards have got him. He's defenseless. Go and kill him. Just as he's about to... Do you think he was going to do it? He was going to do something. I don't know if he was going to do it or not.
I don't know if he would have done it.
I don't know if he would have done it either. But anyway, he gets interrupted because Frank comes out of the house again with a gun. And he's really angry. And this gives Thomas the excuse to kill all the guards. He's got a stick. He kills all the guards with a stick. It's quite impressive. It's a good little fight, actually.
Yeah.
And then he runs into the forest. No, he doesn't. Frank runs into the forest first because Frank is going to kill this woman that they've...
Yeah, he's going to go kill the goddess.
Thomas chases him. Quinn and the prophet chase him. We've got a three-way chase going on. On his way to the forest, Quinn sees Frank... Get the name right. Thomas sees a woman in the forest.
Yeah.
He sees this vision again, this vision he's seeing. And then he gets to the cabin. Thomas is... Why are the names fucking me up now?
I don't know.
Frank is already in the cabin. Thomas doesn't go in.
No.
But he does hear a gunshot from inside. Frank stumbles out. He's been shot by whoever's inside. Turns out it's the dude with a wicker mask
It's
on.
the guy with the wicker mask. He's got the shotgun.
Yeah. So he's killed Frank now.
Frank stumbles sort of near Thomas, doesn't he?
So Thomas goes and hides. He goes underneath the cabin.
Frank says, burn it all down.
Yeah, burn it to the ground. Because he doesn't die straight away.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of people go underneath buildings lately on this show. It happens in Catler quite a lot.
Yeah.
I know it's happened in this quite a lot. It's how bizarre. So he goes into the building. Quinn then arrives with the prophet. They're all there now, basically. Yeah. He shoots the prophet who falls through the entrance to the tunnel into the tunnel, so we think he's dead as well.
He shoots at the guy in the wicker mask but misses him.
Thomas is now in the building. We see him seeing the guy with the wicker mask on. He's force feeding flesh and blood and what we assume is bits of Jeremy.
Yeah, I think so. I think you see a mop of hair.
To the goddess. Yeah. She's now being fed bits of Jeremy. And then Thomas finds a bag of his sister.
Yeah, she's in one of the body bags in the wardrobe.
Yeah. So they reunite. He releases her. He gets her free.
He's like, I'm here. It's me.
It's me. You're saved. Everything's going to be good. Let's get the fuck out of here. Just as he says that, he gets clubbed onto the back of the head by the guy in the wicker mask. And he can see, as he's kind of like lying half conscious on the floor, Quinn dragging his sister away.
Yeah. Puts her in
a cart and drags her away.
Thomas is left in this cabin.
Yeah.
Feels like it's not a good place to be.
No, definitely not a good place to be. We have a quick scene of Quinn turning up at Andrea's house. He shows up and he handcuffs her and takes her away as well. Yeah. So Quinn's on a rampage now. Then we cut back to Thomas, and Thomas is now all tied up.
So he comes round.
Yeah.
And he's like hooked up.
Yeah.
I'm not using that in an electronic sense.
No.
He's got hooks through
his hands. This film turns into Saw at this point now. It's one of Jigsaw's traps. So he's got hooks going through his hands. They're attached to wires, which are attached to some sort of mangle type press type thing. Masher, yeah.
On a table,
and he's being dragged backwards by his hands towards this mangle. I've written here, it's gone all Saw.
And the guy in the wicker mask is the guy turning the handle.
He's turning the crank.
He's like the feeder for this.
Yeah, he's basically in charge of looking after this goddess and making sure she gets as much blood and flesh as she needs. It's all very weird, isn't it?
Yeah. This is an absolute memorable creepy character. Was this guy in this mask?
Yeah, definitely. He isn't with us much longer because Thomas manages to get himself free. His hand just get mangled up at one point.
Yeah, he loses like most of a hand, doesn't he?
Yeah. And he has a badass fight with this masked man.
Yeah.
And eventually the masked man gets caught up in all the cables. And then Thomas drops something on his head.
Yeah.
From the ceiling. And he gets killed, basically. He gets pulled through this mangle and bashed on the head. And the masked man's now dead.
Imagine getting this job. You're on this island community.
Yeah.
You're not on like roof duty like Thomas was.
Do you reckon he was like they might have found him there at the same time?
Well, no, I don't think. I just presumed, this is a guy who's got the short straw in the community.
Yeah,
your job is you're a butcher.
Why the mask?
I don't know. Just to add to the creepiness.
Yeah, it was very creepy. Thomas then eyeballs the tree lady.
Yeah.
And he goes up towards her. He walks towards her. Obviously, he's a bit weird. He's like, well, this is a bit odd. I've not seen this before. And she says, how I've waited for you, my son.
She does. And she touches
grabs his
hand to his temples, like when Mr. Spock is reading minds, isn't it?
So she grabs his head and we get instantly, as soon as she touches his head, we get an instant flashback. So it's like she's transferring her memories to him. And it's the flashback to when the Prophet and Quinn first find her back in the day.
Yeah.
So basically they'd come to this island to
She's living in the forest
and
happily.
She's just there. And that's basically what the flashback is. And they feed her and help her out and whatever, don't they?
As they feed her a rabbit, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
And it makes the forest bloom.
Forest bloom. And Malcolm's like, that was curious. Meanwhile, Quinn has now got Andrea all chained up with Thomas's sister, Jennifer. They're all chained up to a wall. He tells her that Malcolm's dead. We don't know that for sure yet, but
Yeah.
he tells her that he is. He says your father was a false prophet.
Yeah, he's
behind.
monologuing now, isn't he? He's
Yeah.
like, I found that goddess.
Yeah,
I came up. I realised we could feed her, and she would replenish the
yeah.
land.
I was the one who imprisoned her. Your father is a false prophet hiding behind a false god. It's me. Everybody should be worshipping on this island.
Yeah.
That's when we get the flashback to Quinn giving her the first lots of blood that she had and making everything turn green. Then she says to Thomas,
Yeah, so
we're
it's
back with
intercut.
we're cut in between. This film's going at a pace at this point. The goddess says to Thomas, "Free me, my child."
Yeah.
And he sets her on fire.
Yeah, he does.
Basically, he takes the lantern off the wall and sets the trees all on fire. Malcolm, meanwhile, wakes up in this cave that he's found himself in, climbs back up, sees the whole cabin now burning.
Yeah.
And Thomas is running away from it.
Yeah, he's heading back to town.
Yep. He briefly stops on his way back to town to find all the guards are dead in the trees.
Yeah.
So we don't know what's happened there, but
I think this was a handy way to head off the question that the audience might have of, okay,
where did the guards go?
where are all these evil guards gone?
Yeah.
And the island has sort of risen up against them, I guess.
Yes. Quinn is still ranting at to Andrea and Jennifer.
Still monologuing.
He actually says at this point that his plan is to impregnate them every year and then feed the goddess that.
Yeah,
the
they're
babies. Wow. And now suddenly the whole
He's
village...
off the reservation at this point.
He's lost his plot completely. Suddenly the whole village is on fire.
Yeah.
We don't know how that's happened.
Everything's gone on fire.
The cabin's a long way from the village. And somehow everything's now gone on fire. But I think it's the island manifesting.
Yeah, you
whatever
set
happens
one
in
bit
the
of it
cabin.
on it.
Yeah.
You can. I think you can.
The island's like a character in this film, isn't it? Thomas interrupts Quinn and stabs him in the throat.
Yeah.
This is a really brutal death from this character as well.
Yeah, there was a weird bit here because Quinn sort of reels round because he's still got his shotgun. He shoots the wall.
Yeah.
And it just goes on fire.
It does. The wall goes on fire. The stone wall.
Yeah.
So either something outside was on fire or there's something going on this island.
I think it's like all the living force of the island is in everything. And because she's on fire, everything has gone on fire.
Even things.
But it just looked, again, it made me go, ooh, that was a bit weird.
But they also freeze the two girls.
Yeah.
Because their chains get, in this gunshot, get released. So Thomas has got this knife in Quinn's throat.
It's more like a chisel.
Yeah, whatever
so
it is.
It's big, quite a chunky bit
blade.
of iron.
So he's lying on top of Quinn with his knife in his throat. And Quinn's now stabbing Thomas in the side.
Yeah.
In like the rib cage area. A lot. He stabs him a lot. So the girls get free and they get their chain and put it around Quinn's neck.
Yeah, and they haul him up.
And they pull him backwards. And as they pull him backwards, Thomas doesn't move his knife.
No.
So it kind of rips him open.
He guts him.
He guts him from top to bottom.
Yeah.
It's a brutal death for a great character. The whole town are now evacuating to the boats.
Heading to the boats.
They're all going to the boats. They've got to get off this island because the whole island's on fire. And they all flee. Thomas is like, I can't come. I'm not coming with you. Eventually the two girls persuade him to join them.
No, come on.
Come on, you're fine. You'll get there. You'll make it. He doesn't make it. He collapses on top of the cliff top.
Yeah.
And he says, I can't feel my legs.
Yeah,
I can't go any further. I can't feel my legs. I'm going to die here. Andrea notices that there's a lot of blood on the ground around him. Yeah. He's bleeding out. And so he persuades them both to go without him. And they do. Jennifer and Andrea both leave.
Quite an emotional goodbye between Jennifer and
very
Thomas.
much so. The island, as the boats are leaving, one of the cliff edges explodes.
Yeah.
And bursts. There's like blood and fire spitting out of it. Literally the whole island's bleeding. As they row away, you can kind of see it from Thomas's perspective.
Yeah.
And
he sees the boats.
He sees the boats leaving, and as he sees the boats leaving, Prophet Malcolm comes up behind him.
Yeah, sits next to him.
Sits down next to him, and then the island kind of sucks Thomas in.
Yeah.
All the grass starts growing over and up his face, and around him and through him, and he's going to become the next goddess of this island.
Yeah.
And then the film ends.
Yeah.
We made it, Nick.
And Prophet Malcolm's going to be his. Well, he's going to try and start
again.
Maybe.
Yeah, basically, he's the Ben of this lost island.
Yeah.
We've done it. We've gone through that film twice now. It's a heck of a journey, that film. Overall, what are your thoughts?
Not what I expected.
No, not at all.
But in a great way. In a really good way.
Much better than I was expecting it.
This is a hell of a movie.
Yeah.
It twists and turns, and it turns into something I was not prepared for.
Couldn't agree more. It's nothing like what I was expecting.
We've not really mentioned too much how good the performances are. Dan Stevens is great in this.
Yeah.
Michael Sheen is great in this.
Mark Lewis Jones is the guy who plays Quinn. He was the standout.
I don't think there's many just sheer force of nature performances that we've seen ever on Bottom of the Stream that match that.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. I think he's definitely the best villain we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think it's one of the best, if not the best acting performance we've ever seen.
Yeah.
He's incredible.
The last hour really delivers, and it makes the slow build worth it.
Yes.
When it tips over the edge, this is a nuts movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely nuts.
It's not gonna be for everybody.
No way.
There's a lot of religious iconography to it. There's a lot of blood, guts, and gore to it. It's very gory. There's some of the blood's just correct. That bit where he gets split in half at the end, and the bit where he drills into Jeremy's head. Even I was like, "That's a bit much." I watch a lot of films like this.
The village is great. The setting's great. You really feel the grime, the mud, how dirty and horrible. The stench of death
is everywhere.
Comes through the screen like that. This place is dying.
It's a beautifully made film. It's a really well made film.
Yeah,
really well made.
It's awesome.
It is.
I do have a problem with it.
Okay.
It is my problem. I was genuinely taken out of the film for quite a few minutes when I realised we had a tree goddess vampire thing.
It literally threw me out of the film. Didn't see it come in. I was not expecting it, and I was like, "Fuck me, how is this happening again?"
Yeah, because I was like, I've seen a film with this in already, and my brain just, I think, couldn't quite compute it for a little while, for a few minutes.
But like you say, that's our problem. That's not the movie's fault.
Yeah.
It's just there can only be two movies that's ever happened in,
because
we've seen both of them.
And you get that twist less than halfway through,
yeah,
and then it is built on, and by the end of it, you're like on board with it. Whereas when we saw it in Paradise Hills, it was tacked right at the end, and we were like, well, there was no hint of that throughout this movie.
What the
whatsoever.
fuck was that? That was so bizarre.
So it works.
It works better than it does in Paradise Hills. If we'd have seen this one first, we'd have laughed a lot more at Paradise Hills, I think. But yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very weird. Do you want to know Sam's thoughts on it?
Yes, please.
He starts with the same point. Who'd have thought we'd have another film with a random tree monster in successive seasons? The first half is very creepy, with the scene of the old woman walking past the church window and the shot of her standing in the background when Dan Stevens goes back to his dorm and steals blood from a neighbour.
Yeah.
That happens, apparently. To continue with this, maybe after Dan Stevens is walking around in the daytime between helping out with jobs, you could pan the camera up to show the shot of the guards impaled with branches to earlier in the film. But I don't think they were there earlier in the film. But I think that happened.
I took it that she took them out of the picture so that people could escape. And
yeah, I think so as well.
But I could be wrong, but that's how I took it.
Yeah, he just wanted to see something wrong with the island earlier, which is fair.
Yeah.
Also, lean more into the fact that Dan Stevens is going through withdrawals from the opium drops to imply that events may not be as shown.
I think that's an interesting point, because I think we touched on it briefly. I don't think they went far enough with that. They did. Why was it necessary to have that?
It didn't need to be there unless you're going to go further with it.
Yeah, and then it was just dropped when he smashed the bottle.
There was no implication that this was all going on in his head.
He didn't struggle after.
No.
The drops were gone either, did he?
There was no implication that this was all in his head or this wasn't all real. This, as far as we're concerned, everything we saw was what was happening.
Yeah, but I think...
But maybe, you could lean into that a little bit more.
You could do. I just think it was a bit lazy. Because the opioid thing kind of came through like, oh, well, we're a bit bored of this now. We need to move on to the other stuff. And his character never, once he smashed the bottle, there was no sort of withdraw. Oh, I'm struggling, was there?
No, it was not at all.
A bit lazy, really.
Sam continues. Before I knew where this film was going, and I had an idea to make Bill Milner's character Jeremy black. Nothing against Bill Milner's performance, but the abolishment of slavery in the 1830s and the preceding 70 years of racist abuse at the time would explain better the father's reactions to their daughter being pregnant, rather than just an overprotective father with possible paedophilic tendencies. Again, I never got that impression during the film, but you two both did. So
I did for an instant, but again, having sort of thought about it for a bit, it is more the fact that he
knew something was going on and he wanted
this
to know
kid's
going
to kill you because nothing lives on this island.
When we find out what happens to Jeremy, I'm glad they didn't go down that route, as it probably would have caused much more controversy. Fair point. Best thing about the movie was either the work done by the composer. We mentioned the soundtrack earlier. It's a very good point. as the music is always building the tension, or the performance of Mark Lewis-Jones as Quinn. Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. I hope you enjoyed it, though I completely understand why, given the amount of torture, this could be very polarising.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Couldn't agree more. It could be. It very much could be. What's the best thing about it?
I'm just torn between the setting or it's the performance of
Mark Lewis-Jones.
Mark Lewis-Jones. I think I'm going with that.
I think it's the directing or the performance of Mark Lewis-Jones.
Yeah.
It's one of the two.
I think it's really, I can think of, off the top of my head, I'm only thinking of like a couple of times where I've gone, wow, that was a great acting performance. Yeah. And that's to be expected because we're at the bottom of the stream.
Yeah.
But it happened in this movie, so I think it's got to be that.
This film's got Michael Sheen in as well. There's not many people act Michael Sheen off a screen, and he did. He really did. How would you make it better?
I think you can trim a bit of fat.
Take the peaking scene out for definite.
Yeah.
There are bits that you can do, and you could probably make it a little bit more.
And maybe
make it go a little bit earlier, maybe.
I think maybe draw out a little bit. I don't want to be spoon fed, but maybe draw out a little bit who set him up. Yeah. Who set Thomas up? Who
knew,
marked him at the start?
Who knew where he was going?
Yeah.
I'd like a little bit more backstory on the goddess as well. Who was she? What was she doing? Why did she have these powers? That sort of thing.
So I can
understand why it isn't there.
Yeah, I can kind of go with she just exists on an island.
That's fair. We watched Lost for 6 years. Yeah. We can take mysterious islands and go with them. That's not a problem. Stream table. Should we do stream table?
Sure.
Obviously, we've already discussed this before. We know where this is going. We're not going to insult your intelligence by debating. But to be fair, in the first record, there was not much debate going on either.
No.
It's pretty obvious where this goes.
It's the best film we've seen this season.
It's the best film we've seen this season.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's not even close.
It's memorable. It's really memorable. Great performances. I mean, What Happens to Monday was fun. It was really fun.
It's a great film.
But this is on the next level.
Yes, it is. There's not even it's at the top of the stream for a reason. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Sam's played his wild card well here because I would be surprised if anybody can beat this.
It's going to be
a tough one to beat. Both me and you have got the chance to do it. Jordan's also got the chance to do it.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if this is the top of the, not just of the wild card table, but the whole table by the end.
Yeah.
If we see something better than this season, I'll be ecstatic.
Oh, 100%.
I would be so happy.
100%.
But we'll see. Congratulations, Sam. You're going top of the stream. Thoroughly deserved. Good pick. That just means we need to pick next week's film.
Yes.
Which again, we've already done. So we're not going to insult your intelligence.
We randomised it last week on the original recording.
It is random. We've not picked it at random. We have picked it at random, sorry. And it picked a film called Afterlife.
No,
did it not?
Anti-Life.
Anti-Life. I keep getting that wrong.
Afterlife
got Ricky Gervais in it.
It's Anti-Life.
It's picked a film called Anti-Life.
Well,
shall we talk about Anti-Life for a minute?
It's called Anti-Life on Netflix UK.
Yeah.
I believe it may go by another name.
It's also known as the name Breach.
Yeah.
It's a space movie.
Oh, cool.
Do you like space movies?
Yeah, can do.
Do you want to know the synopsis?
Yes.
Yes? Do you want to know the tagline first?
Yes, please.
Deep in space, they are not alone.
Love it. I'm on board already.
The synopsis says, on the cusp of fatherhood, a junior mechanic aboard an interstellar ark to New Earth must outwit a malevolent cosmic terror intent on using the spaceship as a weapon.
Okay.
You do know, but do you want to talk about who's in this film?
Yeah, I'd love to. This is a first appearance on this show by a Hollywood superstar. Whilst not quite at sort of Nicolas Cage level of straight to DVD and streaming movies.
He has gotten to the point
he's
in his
on
career
the way.
where he's not far off that.
Welcome, Mr. Bruce Willis.
Welcome to the stream, Bruce.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see a Bruce Willis film. It's from 2020. It's not that old, and it's rated at 3.0 out of 10.
Ouchie.
It's going to be a fun one. We should have watched it by now. We should be talking about it right now, but we're not. So come back here next week to talk about that. And in the meantime, check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Letterboxd at BOTS_podcast. If you want to drop us an email, you happily can do that. It's bottomofthestream@gmail.com. If you want to go to our website, that's bottomofthestream.com. On the website, you will find every episode we've ever recorded. You will find all 6 stream tables. You will find all sorts of cool stuff on there. Oscar winners, Oscar winners. You can even get some merch if you want a bottom of the stream
party hat.
Party hat. Where's that come from?
I don't know.
How random.
I saw your balloon.
Oh, yeah, I've got a lamp that looks like a balloon. It's well cool. If you want to then go to Patreon, if you're enjoying the show, do that. Patreon.com/bottom of the stream. On there, for a couple of quid every month, you will get bonus episodes. You get early access to episodes. You will get a newsletter that Nick writes every month. And if you come in at the top level, you'll get a wild card. So you can have a go at trying to topple Sam from this top of this stream table. That means you can pick a film that we'll watch every season. And once you've done all that, come join us on Discord. The Discord link will be in the bottom of the show notes.
Yeah, do come and join us on Discord. It is a really fun group of people, and we have some quite amusing
I
conversations.
love the little community we've built in there. It's really good fun.
Yeah, it's a good laugh. If you could spare a few minutes, please consider leaving us a review anywhere that you can review podcasts. That could be Podbean, Podchaser, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you can do that. It really helps our little podcast. It helps the algorithm. It helps put us in front of more people's eyes and in more people's ears. Maybe you could write a review in mud. There was so much mud in this
There's a lot of
movie.
mud and
Or
blood and guts and
topiary review. as we had a sort of nature goddess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grow a nice tree and
Why
shape
not?
it into the shape of a thumbs up or 5 stars or whatever you want to say. Do that way.
Do that. So we've done it. We've got through the second record of Apostle.
Yeah.
How do you think it went?
I think we've gone longer than we did the
We
first
did. I was just going to say exactly that. This episode's turned out longer than the first one was. So I've got more editing to do.
I had a good time.
I had a good time.
I'm never going to forget this movie.
No, not now. We've watched it once and talked about it twice.
I've talked about it for as long as this movie is on.
Yeah. Yeah, so hopefully that never happens again. But apologies that it did, but there's nothing we can do about it. But hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. And then you can go away now. You can watch Anti-Life.
Correct.
And you can come back on Monday for The Wave and next Thursday for The Movie Show.
Cheers.
Bye.